Hello guys, welcome back to another video of Automation Testing Insider. So today I'm going to take a mock interview of one of my subscriber. His name is Saurabh, and the topics we are going to cover is manual testing, automation testing, Selenium with Java, API and SQL. So guys, if you also want to give your mock interview, then please send out your resume to my email ID. So I have provided the email ID in the description box of this video. Please check it out and send out your resume. So let's get started with today's mock interview with Saurabh. So, hi Saurabh, how are you?
Hello. Yes, I am alright. How are you, sir?
Yeah, I'm good too. So, are you comfortable?
Yes.
Yeah.
Sure.
Shall we start?
Yes, sure.
Yeah. So, can you just tell me something about your career, about your roles and responsibilities, about your whatever activities you have done so far in testing?
Yeah. I completed my graduation from Electronics and Telecommunication, and then I completed post-graduation diploma from CDAC, and then I.
Okay, so I'll be covering like as you said, you have experience in manual testing, automation testing. So automation with which tool?
Selenium with Java.
Selenium with Java, correct. Okay, so we are going to cover manual testing, automation testing, and API testing, some part of API testing as well, and then probably database, some SQL queries. Okay, are you okay with that?
Yeah, actually I have not worked on the database testing. So, yeah, we'll try.
Yeah, that's fine. And one more thing, sort of after the completion of this mock interview, I'll provide you the feedback through email, like whatever your positive points, and if you have any areas of improvement, so that will be helpful for you.
That's great.
Okay. So, yeah. So can you just tell me like what your like day-to-day activities, what you do as part of testing, whether it is manual testing or automation, how you are doing your testing activities? Can you just describe that?
Yes, sure. So we have assigned user stories. So based on the stories, some acceptance criteria are mentioned in that user story, and according to that acceptance criteria, I have to write first of all test scenarios, and after I write or create test scenarios, I have to get approval from BA. So BA provides me update or changes that I need to be done. So after I make some changes, I then again send it to BA for approval, and after it gets approved, I write test cases from those test scenarios, and those are also I have to approve from BA, and then I uploaded it to Jira. In my previous project I used Jira, and in my current project I use TFS. So after uploading it, I can do manual testing on that, and in automation, like we had like written manual test cases, and we had to like check and create what type of test cases we can automate, and based on that we like finalize the test cases to automate, and then we start write like some test cases are assigned to me, then I create test scripts for that.
Okay, so how do you choose that automation cases? Like let's say you have manual test cases, so how do you go for automation? Who is choosing those test cases? What is the criteria, and who is finalize that?
So in our team lead used to finalize which test cases to automate. And the criteria was like how frequently that we need to check, like some functionalities that we had to check like concurrently multiple times, and how much it is important. Like so most of the test cases that are part of regression, I was part of regression team also. So that we automated.
Okay, good. So can you just explain me what is agile model, agile methodology?
So agile methodology is like we get a requirement from client, we work on that, we test it, then again some modifications are done, we get requirements get updated, or we get new requirements. So it's continuously changing, and accordingly the whole process is going parallel with development. Like we also test in parallel with development. So that is agile methodology.
Okay, so let's say you are getting multiple user stories. Let's say for first sprint you got some requirement and maybe subsequent releases as well. So how do you manage? What is your approach? How do you manage in that kind of situation?
Yeah, so like for each sprint we have some user stories assigned. So we have target to complete those tasks in a given time frame, like in that sprint. So accordingly, when deployment is received, so then we like verify the functionalities, and also if there are some defects, like we like retest those defects, or like if we have created defects, then we work on that defects also.
Okay, good. Do you know what are the test cases design techniques?
Yeah, so equivalence, partitioning, boundary value analysis, error guessing.
Okay, so let me just give you a scenario where you need to write the test cases. So you have login screen. So what are the test techniques you are going to apply for login screen? For let's say username, password is there. So how you are going to apply all kind of different test design techniques are there, right? So how do you apply?
Yes. So like maybe for username and password, those two fields are there. So like username field, so there may be some positive scenarios, like which kind of user name we can input. So there may be some length limit. There may be some criteria that are required to fulfill. Like like a numeric number should be there, numeric value should be there, or a special character, only one special character, or at least one special character is allowed. So accordingly, what are the like qualified inputs, like which inputs we can give those inputs. I will separate the values, that is for positive scenarios, and for negative scenarios the invalid inputs I will separate out, and like that's way I can like achieve equivalence partitioning technique. And boundary value analysis, if there are like password field has some limit, like it should have minimum 6 characters and maximum 20. So like I will test with 5 characters and 7 characters. It's before and after 6, and then below 20 like 19, and above 20 like 21 characters.
Okay.
So that is way I can choose boundary value analysis.
So what are the 6 conditions for boundary value?
What are the
6 conditions for boundary value?
6 conditions.
Let's say
so
password field is accepting from, let's say, 60 to like 15 characters. Okay, so how do you derive test cases using 6 to 15?
6 to 15. So there is one like one more for 6, that 6 characters should be allowed. 15 characters should be allowed. And the characters between this value, like this between this range 6 to 15.
No, suppose you are going to apply boundary value analysis. Okay.
Yes.
So
okay.
What are the test cases for boundary value analysis?
So the one character less than 6.
Okay.
One character greater than 6. And similarly for 20, one character less than 20, one character greater than 20.
Okay. So basically we have minimum and minimum plus 1 and minimum minus 1.
Yes.
And similarly for maximum side as well.
Right.
Okay. Good. So take an example. Let's say you are working on a particular sprint, and let's say release is today itself. Okay. After an hour you have released, but you got a minor defect. Okay. A minor defect in the application that does not impact a lot. Okay. because that's minor defect. So what would be your approach? How you are going to proceed? Because deadline is already fixed by the client and your team, like you are going to release the software today. So what is your approach to it?
So the defect is minor, right?
Yeah. But anyway, that is defect, right? So how do you handle it?
Yes, right. Right. So first of all, I will check if there are other defects that are not like that are major defects. So that must have some greater priority than this minor defect. So I will definitely log the defect. If it is a definite defect, then I will log it and update that defect with the priority, severity, and screenshots and other steps, expected result, actual result, and will assign to developer. So, but if it is like I will discuss with developer. If it is like achievable, like if it can be resolved quickly, then definitely it would be great if we can resolve it before the release.
Let's say developer says that this is not a defect or this is very minor, so you can ignore it. So in that sense, like how do you handle that kind of situation? How you are going to proceed?
So yeah, I can also take a suggestion from product owner or scrum master. If like that defect is I need to log, like just for the sake of raising a defect, like we have proof that we have tested this functionality and this was a defect, like but it is minor and we have neglected for just now. But if that is allowed, then I will log a defect. But if it is said that like product owner like is fine with having this minor defect and it is not like hampering any functionality, then I won't raise a defect.
Yeah, okay. So basically, we should be confident enough, whenever we get the defect, whether it is minor or, major defect, we should log it and we should discuss with the team whether, if release is today itself, but we should discuss with the team and we should definitely we are going to log it and then we'll see whether it can be accepted by the for the teams or not, right?
Right.
So okay, that's good. And what is the difference between defect priority and severity?
So priority is how quick that defect needs to be fixed, and severity is how it is impacting the functionality, how severe it is. It is causing a major disruptions, or it is not not so important defect.
So can you give me an example of high priority? You might have heard we are giving priorities and severity to the defects, right? So can you give me an example of high priority and high severity defect? Any example which you come across? Yeah.
So I came across many defects like this because there was one in the previous project. Once the user was not able to log in with particular credentials, so that was a high priority and that's the highest priority that is, because the user is not even able to log in. High priority and a high severity. Also in another project, there was a functionality to fulfill the order, so the partial fulfillment was not working. So that one also comes under high priority, high severity.
Okay. So basically the importance of the defect and how severely it affects the system, right? And
right.
Can you just give the reverse kind of, let's say low severity and low priority defect? Can you any example of low severity and low priority defect?
So there is one field low severity, low priority. Okay, so I came across one scenario in that project. One functionality was to upload an attachment in the backend. The backend, it was a back office, we can say.
Okay.
So in the back office, the admin has to approve the order, and so while approving, he has to like attach one. He can attach like any document if it is needed. That was rarely used, and even in that also, only one type of file was not getting uploaded. Rest all the files were able to get uploaded, and that was functionality which is rarely used, and even in that rarely used type of file was not working. So that comes under low priority, low severity.
Any other example, if it comes in your mind?
Like suppose there is one last page in that application, and some information is mentioned,
okay,
and there is some spelling mistake, little spelling mistake, and like users rarely visit that page, so that will come under low priority, low severity.
Okay, good. Okay, let's move on to probably Java and Selenium. Okay,
sure.
So what is a static keyword in Java? What is the usage?
So using static keyword, we can access the like attributes, data members, data functions, or we can say data members using class name only. So that is the use of static keyword, and we cannot like static keyword. Another use, I know that is used once it is it has memory allocated only once. Like we do not need to create object for that class.
Any other uses, like basic use of static keyword? Where we are going to use static keyword? Can we use for variables or methods?
Yes, we can use for variables and methods. Suppose I don't know if it is right or not. I'm a little confused. So I think we cannot override static methods. Is it right?
Yeah, I mean you just go through about it. Yeah.
Sorry.
That's nice.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's nice.
Right.
Okay. And I'll give you a program. Okay. Let me just. We have. Let's say you have a print statement. Okay. And inside the print system.out.println, it is written like 2 plus 5 plus your name in double quotes, Saurabh. Okay. So and another print statement with Saurabh initially, and then plus 2 plus 5 plus 2 plus 5. So what would be the output of these two lines?
Okay. For the second one, it will surely be Saurabh 2.5. And for first one, 2 plus 5 plus Saurabh. So I think that will also be 2.5 Saurabh.
Yeah, that's wrong actually. Yeah.
Okay.
You can try this one. Okay.
Sure.
Yeah. Another program is like, let's say in for loop I have written like I is equal to 0 and 0 in the middle and I plus plus. So is this correct statement or?
In for loop, right?
Yeah.
I equals to 0, then what is the condition?
0. In the middle I just put 0.
Okay.
And comma I plus plus.
I haven't tried this, but I think that should not be allowed.
Yeah, so you should get a compiler error for that one.
Yes.
Okay. And what is constructor in Java?
Constructor is to initialize, like it creates an object. We can also initialize variables.
What are the different types of constructors?
Parameterized constructor or like non-parameterized constructor.
So let me give you a program. So let's say we have a couple of variables. We have id, int id, and we have a string, let's say name. Okay, and then we have a function called or method called display, public void display. Inside that we are printing those two variables. Okay, and then we have public stat void main. In main method we have created the object of this class. The class name is test. Okay, class name is test, and inside that we have two variables, and then we have a display method. There we are just writing the print statement of value of this id and name, and in the main method we are just creating an object of this class, and we are calling the display method. So what would be the output of those two values, like id and name? What is the output of this program?
So have we initialized the values to those variables?
No, we have not initialized.
And we haven't even passed the values to the function called.
Correct.
Okay.
We are not passing any values.
So it won't print anything.
So what is the output basically? And whether constructor will be called in this case, what do you call this when?
So we have created object, so definitely constructor will be called.
Okay.
But it will give an error.
No, you won't get error. So what do you call that? Because we have not given any constructor over here, but constructor will be called. What do you call that?
Default constructor.
Correct. That is called default constructor, and it prints some default values, like for integer it will print 0 and null for a string.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So okay. And can you just tell me, like, what are the benefits of automation, tools?
What the benefits that I've experienced, if there is a new build and we have to perform regression testing, or we have to perform some smoke testing, so we do not have to waste time in doing manually. So we can achieve the smoke testing within few hours, and also if it saves our time basically.
Okay.
Automation, yeah.
What about regression testing?
Yes, and also regression testing also we can do using automation, and also we can run test cases multiple times. Yeah.
And one more question from Java side. So what are the different OOPS concept we have in Java?
Abstraction, polymorphism, inheritance, and encapsulation.
And what is the difference between we have method overloading and method overriding? So under which OOPS concept it comes?
So it comes under polymorphism.
Okay, and what do you mean by method overloading?
So method overloading means two functions having same name but different parameters.
Okay. So we'll declare within same class, right?
Yes.
How about overriding?
So in overriding we have same methods with same name and with same parameters, but the implementation is different, and one is implemented in base class and another is implemented in child class.
So on to the Selenium side, some questions on Selenium. So how do you identify the elements on any web page? What are
so we have different locators like ID, class, CSS selector, class XPath, partial text, link text.
And which is better, like ID or XPath? Which one is better?
So if ID is better to use because it is unique and easy to locate.
Okay, good. And In XPath we have slash, right? Single slash.
Right.
That is why we, write XPath. Single
Yes, yes.
slash and double slash. What do you mean by that? What is the exact meaning?
So,
Mhm.
single slash is for absolute path,
Mhm.
and single slash is for absolute path, and double slash is for relative path.
So what do you mean by that, absolute or relative? Can you just, in basic
Yes,
words,
yes.
can you just explain?
So absolute path is from the root node to the current node. We traverse the whole path, complete path, complete address we have in absolute path, like from the root to the
Mhm.
current node. And in relative paths, it is related to current node,
Mhm. Good, good.
or between the root node and current node to the current node.
Mhm. Can you just automate? Can you just write few lines of code, like how to automate a login screen? Any web page, how do you log in? Can you just write few lines? I mean, you can
Yes.
just say it. Yeah.
So should I write like orally? Should I tell you, or?
Anything is fine. You can just tell me already.
Okay, so
or
like
that's
we use like driver.get. So first of all, we have drivers,
Mhm.
and we give a path to launch the driver,
Mhm.
and then we like open after the browser is open. We like put a URL like driver.get and the URL.
Mhm.
So after then we locate the elements. Like if we want to click on the login button,
Okay.
then we inspect that element and find the locator of that element.
So how do you
And
write
like
that? How do you write that line? Let's say username you are inspecting and you are writing. So how do you write that?
So like driver.find element,
Mhm.
that is what you're asking. Driver.find element and by.id,
Mhm.
and passing that ID
Mhm.
value.
Okay, good.
Yeah,
So
and
as you said earlier, like you are providing the driver path, right? So
Yes, yes.
do you have any other way instead of providing the driver path? Do you have any other way?
yes, I am not able to recall it right now, but I have seen that. I'm not able to recall.
Yeah, that's fine. You can just
Yes, yes.
research on that.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes, yes.
yeah. And what is the difference between find element, as you said, like find element for that particular element, and find element and find elements? If you write like find elements, what do you mean by that?
So find element will give you a single value,
Mhm.
and find elements will give the list of values, like
List of-
collection of values.
Elements, yeah. Okay. Now let's say in any login page we have sometimes we used to get authentication pop-up, right? Where we need to provide a username and password. So can you just tell me like how we can handle this kind of situation, this kind of login screen?
Authentication pop-up, like we have to switch to that window,
Mm-hmm.
driver.switch to window,
Mm-hmm.
and then locate, then find the locators of that elements. Then we can perform the action.
Are you sure about that? Or any other way? Can't we directly put username and password in the URL?
In the URL.
Yeah, in the URL.
Okay, so like in the URL appending
Correct.
its ID equals to.
Mhm.
So I have not tried that, but
You can try this one. You can
navigate to driver.navigate to and passing that URL, will it work? I don't know.
Even I have covered video on that one, so you can look into that.
Okay, sure.
Yeah, or you can research on Google as well. So that anything is fine.
All right.
So, and how do we suppose you want to switch to frame? Okay, so how do we switch to a frame? What is the statement we used to write?
I think it's driver.switch to frame.
Correct. And there are 3 values it takes, that frame method.
So then I think we have to iterate over it. using like we can use the array list and store those values and iterate over it, and according like we can put it in a loop, and then we can access it like passing the loop number like index.
But we have frame name and frame ID index, right? We can directly put it there and we can switch to any frame.
Okay.
Right? So yeah.
Okay.
And coming to TestNG side, what are the different annotations you worked on, and what are the different annotations are available in TestNG?
So @test, before test, after test, before suite, after suite, before class, after class, and I think those are the annotations.
Did you say before suite as well?
Yes.
After suite. Okay. So what is priority? What is priority in TestNG?
So like which test case to execute first?
Is it an annotation or what?
Yes, we pass it in bracket, priority equals to, and then we pass the number.
So we used to call it as an attribute.
Yes.
Okay. So let's say I'll give an example or scenario. So let's say you have 5 test cases and test your method names like test 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. Now for the test 1 you have not given any priority. Test 2 you have given priority 1, 2, 3, 5. From test 2 you have given 1, 2, 3 and 4. So what is how it will execute?
First like test 1, then test 2, test 3, test 4.
Why it will execute the test 1 first?
Because it has a default priority is 0.
Okay, good. And let's say if you have not given any priority to any of the test cases, any of the test methods, and we have written like test 5 first, test 4, test 3, test 1, test 2 in different orders. So what will be the execution order?
So alphabetical order is achieved there. But for now I think that will follow test 1 to test 5.
Yeah, please try that one.
Sure.
So probably you might have worked in a framework, right? In your company, they might be using some framework. So can you just tell me? I'm not going to deep into like framework, and can you just tell me different components in a framework?
So in our framework, there were like it was for base object model. So we have different classes for base class, like the functionality which are used more often, and like properties which are used more often, and so those are stored in that. And for each pages we have different classes, and we have different test like different test classes for each type of test case. And also we had like a folder for storing data, and folder for capturing screenshot, and like in one folder we had stored Excel file to fetch the data, and also utilities class was there, folder was there. So like methods like to capture screenshot in TestNG listener, and so data reader, and also we had reports folder.
Okay. And which kind of report you are using?
It's hybrid framework.
Like report, I mean
TestNG.
Okay, TestNG. You are not using any like extend report or?
Yes, extend report for we use extend report.
And from where you are executing the test cases? Do you have any? How do you execute your cases?
So like we had also integrated to Jenkins, so it used to get triggered from there.
Okay, good. So you mentioned API as well on your resume. So yeah, please go ahead.
But it was a kind of API testing, little part of API testing. I had to like validate some few calls, API calls.
Yeah, just I'll ask a few questions on it, just basic questions.
Sure.
So what is an API? Can you just explain what you mean by API?
Yes, so API provides an kind of interface to perform some request. So when a request is received, then API performs the task from the, like, we have some server, so it fetches some data or manipulates it and like sends back to the like who has requested the resource.
Yeah. So in day-to-day life, we are using many applications, right? So can you just give me an example of APIs?
Yes, as we are using like day-to-day like we are using Ola, Uber, and in that we can track where the driver is or where the cab is, and they are using API call for maps, because they have someone has like installed satellites, and
correct,
they are using their service, like using
weather
API.
site also,
For payment also, yes.
Yeah, correct.
For payment also, like we are using.
Yeah,
for login also somewhere, we can use Gmail login.
Okay. And what is CRUD operations in API?
So CRUD operations are get, post, put, delete, patch.
What do you mean by CRUD? The full form of?
Create, read, update and delete.
Okay, good. And what is the difference between two APIs like SOAP and REST? Some differences. I'm okay with that.
Yeah. So I cannot recall like the exact difference, but I know that REST in the REST API, it is stateless, and client server architecture is used. And
which one is a protocol? Which one is protocol? Whether SOAP or
sorry?
REST? Which one is a protocol?
SOAP one is protocol.
Okay. Yeah. You can research on it. Many differences
Yes.
are there. So you just go
Sure.
through it. Yeah. So, so you have experience in Git as well, right? You might be using Git.
Yes.
Can you just tell me some commands, Git commands?
So like Git branch to create a branch, Git checkout to switch to a particular branch, Git clone, Git add dot to add the file, Git push, and Git merge, Git commit -m.
Yeah, that's fine. And so let's say, suppose I think you said Git add as well. So let's say you have 4 or 5 files you worked on, and you want to add together. So how you are going to add?
So I will use Git add dot.
Dot will not work. Git add asterisk star.
Okay.
Yeah, so that will add all the files. And suppose you want to, let's say in local directory you are working and you want to see the status. So what is the command for that?
So like where?
Suppose you have updated some changes, or you working on some files. So how do you see through Git command? Those files have been changed. How do you see?
Git status.
Okay, good. Okay. Just one basic question on SQL, since you have mentioned MySQL as well. So let's say you have 2 tables, one is employee and another one is employee detail. Can you just write a basic join query? How do you relate these two tables? Just write a basic join query.
Actually, I have not worked so it's a long time. I had learned it in CDAC during my CDAC course.
Any attempt or any logic?
Yes.
Can you just give?
Yeah, I can use inner join. So there are two database like S and S1. So S1 dot inner join, and then we use S2.
So basically, how do you relate these two tables? What is the
so there is one particular one common we can say attribute,
or maybe employee ID is there. Yeah.
Yes.
That is what I wanted to hear. Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, that's fine. Basically, SQL also you can just look into it, because that's kind of mandatory as well. So whenever you go for an interview. So I think I have covered almost everything, Saurabh. So do you have any questions for me?
Yeah, sure. Feedback would be better if I receive.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, your interview is very good. So, and in detail level feedback, definitely I'll provide through email. So, yeah, it was nice talking to you. And
yes.
So, thank you, Saurabh, for your time and sending me your resume and for this mock interview. Thank you so much. Have a nice, have a good night. Thank you so much. Bye bye.
Good night, sir. Thank you so much. Thanks a lot.
Bye.